Hello everyone, welcome back to another video on my channel, and today we're talking 90 Day Fiance The Single Life, Season 4, Episode 11. The tell-all is right around the corner, starting with Natalie, because she just had her reunion with Mike last episode, and that was kind of rough. We last left off with Natalie after she and her mother reunited with Mike after a few long years apart, and were left on a cliffhanger, teasing the inevitable conversation between Natalie and Mike and the future of their relationship.
This could be my moment to save my marriage.
After dropping off Natalie's mom at home, Natalie and Mike finally have some alone time to talk about their future and their relationship together. We hear again from Natalie in the one-on-ones that she's incredibly nervous for this conversation. She's very scared, she's very alone, she's been in this long-term relationship, well, kind of relationship with Josh. She moved to LA to pursue her hopes and dreams, and now all of that has come crashing down after she and Josh broke up.
Because we had a plan with Josh, now I don't have a plan.
And since the breakup, she started to take inventory and recognize that she's always wanted family and kids, and yet now is 38 years old, single, and alone. Unless Natalie's mother has anything to say about it, because she called up her ex-husband Mike to fly all the way down to Los Angeles as a surprise to, according to her mother at least, come together, reconcile their problems, and become a happy family together once again.
Майкл, сейчас просто идеальное время. Нашей семье сдружиться.
Right off the bat, this meeting already feels a little weird and forced to me, because Natalie and the show have set this whole meeting and reunion up with Mike to be entirely because she wants a family and kids. It hasn't been set up that it's been a couple years and she's learned a lot in life and remembered that what the really important things are and really learned to appreciate her relationship with Mike. There's a little bit of that. And of course, this is subject to the editing, but the story we're getting is she wants kids and he's capable of that. And they kind of have a relationship, so Mike is good enough. He can be used as the method to get kids. It's easy to get the impression that Natalie's mindset going into this meeting is entirely focused around her and how she can get what she wants out of the meeting. So already things feel a little weird and imbalanced, but let's find out what Mike wants. The two of them arrive at some park, they're walking together, Natalie's holding Mike's arm in a cute, affectionate way. She's saying how great it is to see him, that they'll always be a family, and ultimately sit by this lighthouse, where everything is about to go down. Natalie starts off the conversation, honestly, pretty well. She tells Mike that it's always been a goal for hers to have a family, and although she and Mike had a good connection, she feels like the two of them never really had a chance to develop the kind of relationship that they both wanted because of COVID and because of her aspirations to become an actress and her movie industry and all that she says kind of got in the way or distracted her from what she really wanted. And now that she's in LA and has had those opportunities to pursue that industry life, she has now realized that it's not all it's cut out to be. Or at the very least, even if she still did like the movie industry and wanted to become an actress and all that stuff, she didn't fully realize that this was coming at the cost of giving up what's really important to her family and her relationships.
I lost something really important, much more than money, work, much more than career or anything like that. I lost family.
Okay, we're gonna take it bit by bit, but at least what she said right then as her introduction, I think that was pretty good. Got no problems here. I think that's a very reasonable thing to say. I think
if that was true and accurate,
I think that could be very understandable. If her meeting with Mike right now is a genuine reflection of her growth as a person and connecting with her values and just realizing what's the really important things in her life, if that's actually growth as a person, then I think that's great and she's doing a good job. But I'm just gonna go ahead and take a wild guess that most viewers are not going to buy that as an excuse. Of course, we don't know, and the show is edited to get us to feel and think certain ways, so none of us know that this is the case, but it certainly does seem like this newfound discovery from Natalie that she's suddenly well connected with herself and realized what the really important stuff is and wants a family with Mike. It does feel like this is a bit of a knee-jerk. Like this whole thing might be less of a reflection and growth from Natalie as a person, and more just, oh, I got broken up. Well, I broke up with him technically. My relationship ended. I'm at rock bottom. I want a family. Mike, hey, you want to have kids? I want kids now. It's really important to me. Will you take me back? Can you have kids with me, please? I don't know which one of those is most true. I'm sure you have your own opinions about that. But ultimately, the only person's opinion who really matters right now is Mike. And after that introduction, Natalie cuts to the chase and asks Mike point blank,
I was like thinking, would we consider ever coming back and have a child together?
would you consider getting back together and having kids with me? And Mike says,
No.
No? That's it? That's all you're gonna say? Damn, dude, that's ice cold. Natalie asks why, and Mike says he's moving on.
Because I'm ready to move on, Natalie.
And I gotta say, that surprised the hell out of me. To be clear, I didn't think Mike would say yes, but I expected there to be some ambiguity about it. Or, I don't think so. Or, I don't think we're there. Maybe if we work on our relationship first, not right now. Something where then they go back and forth and it's kind of dramatic. And then they can go in the tell-all later and go, oh, so what are you and Mike doing together now? Is your relationship growing? What about kids? And it'll be this whole thing. And I definitely didn't expect him to just say flat out, nope, I'm moving on. It also gets a little more rough when Natalie asks him if he's met someone. And Mike says no, but he's hoping to, because he wants to move on and build a life with someone else.
Have you met someone?
No, but I'm hoping I can meet someone.
That's brutal, man. I'm not saying Mike is in the wrong for being this direct. I actually think that being that direct and frank about it can actually be a quite compassionate thing to do, because it doesn't leave that door open of, well, maybe, and maybe they try harder or what if. Getting that flat out no, yeah, it hurts a lot more in the moment, but you at least get that sense of closure. And now, faced with that rejection, we see Natalie go through several stages of grief. Mike says, hey, we've been separated for years, I'm ready to move on. And Natalie says, well, but I still love you. But we're still a family.
The only thing I ever wanted was to have a family.
But I still love you. I care for you.
Mike says, we've both moved on. You've been in a relationship with a guy for all this time.
You've had a relationship with other people. No.
And Natalie says, yeah, but it was just one guy. It's not like I'm dating everyone. That's not what I do. And it wasn't even that big of a relationship. It was just this kind of thing. Like, it's not that big of a deal. And Mike is hearing all this and starts to smirk. He's like, oh, now that your relationship has ended, well, now the relationship wasn't a big deal, huh? So now I'm just your backup, aren't I?
So now I'm your backup plan or what?
I care about you and I. You're my husband.
There is no me and you. You made that choice, Natalie.
And Mike goes on to say, that stuff you said earlier about trading your life and all the things you really wanted in pursuit of your career, well, you made that decision, and now you have to deal with it. You made your bed, now you lay in it.
You just told me that you have traded family, me, and everything for what you want in life. This is what you wanted and you got it.
And while I respected Mike's directness earlier in the conversation, I get where Mike is coming from. I can't really honestly say that he's in the wrong for being this cold here. Of course, the way he's talking now would upset Natalie a little bit more. It's not the most sensitive way of delivering this information. Smirking, shrugging, just saying, well, this is your problem, you deal with it. It's not the most compassionate thing. But relationships are messy, and I'm guessing Natalie has hurt Mike a lot. So I can understand him not wanting to be the nicest right now. I would like to believe that we all have some kind of an obligation to, at the very least, not rub salt in the wounds when these things happen. But I also don't think anyone is obligated to act like a complete angel and just go,
oh, well, I'm so sorry this was hard for you. I feel betrayed and like you used me and now you're coming up with a backup plan, which really triggers me and my history of feeling like you don't really like me for who I am and all this stuff. I'm going to ignore all that. Well, I'm sorry you feel bad. I'm sorry being rejected.
I don't think that's very reasonable or even necessarily the right thing to do. Also, it's been a couple years since we've seen Mike on the show, or at least Mike with Natalie. So my memory could be a little hazy here, but I vaguely recall this kind of response from Mike, this sort of smirking, this is what you do, Natalie. I remember that from Mike. I could be wrong, but I remember that being kind of a pattern with him. And I remember at the time feeling like that was one way that he was expressing his emotional pain in the relationship. On the surface, it looks like he's being a smarmy little shit, but there's a real good chance that the only reason he would ever act that way is as a response to him feeling really hurt. Just for sake of example, if I imagined that I was in a relationship and I liked the person, it was going well enough, and they decided or got an idea in their head that this relationship wasn't good enough. Maybe I wasn't good enough, maybe something about the circumstances wasn't good enough, and they left me, they left the relationship I was broken up with, I feel bad, and they're going out to explore the world and look for better things. And they're doing all that while I'm sitting at home alone and feeling bad about myself. And then they come crawling back and say, you know what, I learned that you're actually better than I thought. Yeah, I had another relationship and tried other things, but I learned in this process how good our relationship really was, and now I want us to come back together. Will you come back together with me? At some point, I don't even care if you're being truthful, that this was a genuine reflection and you've grown as a person. I don't know if I really care in that moment. Because in that example, I'd still have all these feelings of betrayal, not good enough. You left me, you rejected me.
But when you left, I just felt like my love and everything was not good enough.
You ended our relationship, I feel betrayed and hurt and all that, and yeah, you're coming up and now you're being emotionally vulnerable and shit, but I don't care, go fuck yourself. Oh, you feel bad that you're lonely now and you don't have anybody? What? Yeah, welcome to my world the past few years when you left me. I don't give a shit. You hurt me, you betrayed me, and now you think it's my obligation to make you feel better and take your ass back? Why would you think I'd even want your ass back?
This is what you wanted and you got it. The grass is not always greener on the other side. You can't backtrack towards me. I'm not your backup plan.
Now, to be clear, that's just an example. I'm sure there were a multitude of reasons why the two of them broke up. Some of them may be Natalie's fault, some of them Mike's fault. It wasn't necessarily the case that Mike and he just has an amazing, perfect relationship, and she just goes, yep, I hate you now, bye, F off. Like, I don't think it's quite that black and white. But still, from an emotional perspective, I wouldn't be surprised if Mike still had a lot of these feelings of pain, possible betrayal, possible abandonment. And now that he's being confronted with Natalie, he would still have those feelings. And those feelings might even come out now in snarkiness and a sense of resentment.
I cared, I supported you, I took care of you, I loved you, but none of that mattered.
Again, that's not quite how I remember the relationship going at the end. I could be wrong, but it wasn't the healthiest. It seemed like Natalie was upset with a lot of things, and Mike seemed to become very emotionally distant and just hand-wavy like, oh, well, that's that. He was already the relationship was deteriorating. And then something about the mom. I don't remember anything that the mom did, Mike's mom, but I remember my impression of her was that she seemed like a very nasty, hateful person. Even if she might have been upset with Natalie for some things for possibly some valid reasons, just the energy, the vibe I got was like, just get this person out of here. She's not helping anyone's relationship. So it's probably a little more complicated than Mike just being the perfect guy and Natalie sucking, but emotionally speaking, he's still in pain. And I think that makes sense. And then some time passes, possibly a lot of time, because it's clearly now evening. Where'd the sun go? And Natalie says, hey, well, let's just be friends and we'll see, but can we be friends? And despite his hurt feelings, Mike agrees and says, yeah, we can be friends. Like, that's okay.
We can be friends. That's fine, Natalie.
We can talk. I like your mom, but just the relationship is a no-go.
But it doesn't mean I'm going to pump a baby into you.
Yeah, by the way, my summaries, they're not word for word. You know, I do a little bit of translating to make it a little easier.
But it doesn't mean I'm going to pump a baby into you.
Then a little bit of awkward desperation comes out from Natalie's part. Mike says again that he's ready to move on, and Natalie's like, well, with who? You don't have anybody. See, you're single, I'm single, so, I mean, we're both in this situation, so I guess we have to have kids.
I'm ready to move
You see?
on.
You have no one, I have no one.
That just means that we're going to get together and frickin' make babies.
Which is like, Natalie, stop it. You're embarrassing yourself. And while Natalie is pleading her case and saying she's going to keep fighting for the relationship and keep working on it, Mike just interrupts and is like, yeah, I'm finalizing the divorce.
And you're my family, and I'm gonna fight for you.
I'm taking steps to make the divorce final.
Brutal, man. And after all that, with one final confirmation that Mike is not interested and there's no chance, Natalie walks off, says she refuses to divorce Michael because you don't divorce family.
You don't divorce family.
Which, I don't want to be that guy right now, but technically you can only divorce family. Shares her despair and cries. And watching that, even if you're not the biggest fan of Natalie, which, I don't think most people are, even still, it's hard to watch that and not feel kind of bad. Yes, this is television. Yes, this is edited. We don't know how much of this is completely truthful, how much of this was lies from the start, anything like that. But I'd be remiss if I didn't at least mention the possibility to keep in mind that this could be an actual human being who's had 3 husbands and all these failed marriages and tried to move and switch her life around and come crawling back to her ex-husband just to get rejected on TV. That's rough. Though that we can talk about what happened on the show at face value, talk about the behaviors that we see, I want to talk about things in an ethical way where we don't end up just hating this person that we think we know and then DMing them on Instagram and just talking about all these terrible things that they're a terrible person, all that. So with all that said, although I'm surprised this happened the way it did on the show for television reasons, like I said, I thought that Mike would have a more ambiguous answer and lead into possible future content. If we think about it from just a person-to-person perspective, yeah, obviously this would happen. Why would Natalie think this wouldn't happen? You've been separated for years. You've moved on from the relationship. You've been in other relationships. You've changed your whole life. And now to just call someone out of the blue and say, hey, will you take me back? I've changed my ways. No, I need to move on with my life. I don't want this. Why would you think that I would? As I mentioned before, since she's broken up with Josh, a lot of the content around Natalie is, I am upset, I'm lonely, I want a kid, how do I get kid? Michael can give me kid, Therefore, I need to go to Michael. And if that's how Natalie was seeing it, I thought that that was a selfish way of seeing things. She's not seeing Michael for Michael and his wants and emotional needs and all that. I want a kid. That's my wants and needs, and Michael can just fill that role. And it seemed like that's where her thoughts about this whole thing ended. How can this benefit me? How can I get what I want out of the situation? And that is what it seems like based off what we've seen on the show. But I did want to give Natalie the benefit of the doubt, especially in this situation nearing the end of the season. She's had a lot of emotional turmoil. There's been a lot of crying the past few episodes. So let's give her the benefit of the doubt and assume that the first thing she said in this conversation with Mike, where the relationship wasn't very good, she left to go explore the world and try out new things, and then came to a genuine growth and realization that she really wanted the things that she had, that the grass is not always greener, that she's grown as a person, that she's more connected with her values, and genuinely wants to get back together with Mike to really try it again and make the relationship work. Because even if that wasn't the case with Natalie, there certainly are people in the world who could find themselves in these positions. And if that is what's going on for Natalie, and she really genuinely does want to try again and make the relationship better, the first big piece of advice I'd give to Natalie is to focus on their feelings first. When she starts the conversation off talking about how she's learned some things and she's realized what's really important, that's all good. That's a good thing to say. But she says all that not knowing the situation she's getting herself into, because it isn't until later in the conversation when she discovers that he's really hurt and feels betrayed and has a lot of resentment.
I cared, I supported you, I loved you, but none of that mattered. I just felt like my love and everything was not good enough.
She finds that out later in the conversation. So now when she's pleading her case and explaining her side, she doesn't know that she's talking to a hurt, betrayed Mike. In that situation, even if Natalie said everything right and was super perfect and mature and poised and all that, if Mike is mad the whole time and it's just like, yeah, you use me as a backup, I effing hate you, you betrayed me, he's not gonna hear it. All your effort will go to waste because he's upset and is not hearing it. So if Natalie's the one who invited him out and she's the one that has this plan that after this conversation we gotta get somewhere, this whole kids and relationship thing, then before going with her pitch to the whole thing, hey, how you been? How's life been? How'd the breakup go? I'm sorry it went that way. I thought we had a great relationship and I feel bad the way it ended and I hope that things are going well. And then he has an opportunity to say, yeah, I've been kind of mad. I've been feeling pretty hurt. I felt betrayed. I felt like my love wasn't good enough. All that stuff that he said later in the conversation could have happened earlier on, which would have given Natalie an opportunity to take care of him, to demonstrate some of the growth that she says that she's gained. She can demonstrate the newfound maturity and values and say, I'm really sorry about that, and here's why that you were hurt. You said you felt like your love wasn't good enough. I'm really sorry you feel that way. I now have realized that I had these problems and it was really getting in the way of me having a relationship for you. And I recognize that, I wasn't there for you enough in that way and I'm sorry. But if she could demonstrate that she's grown and take care of him and show that actually, okay, well, this is going well. Then not only would Mike not be so distracted with his negative feelings, now he's more receptive and buttered up essentially. But then when he's later hearing her pitch of, I've done all this growth and I realized that, I made some mistakes and I appreciate the relationship we had. Would you consider getting back together and having a family with me? Now, not only is he less distracted, he's also just had an example of how things could actually turn out different than last time. He can see how things are better, how there's been improvements, how this relationship, well, maybe this actually might work. Maybe I don't want to say yes or no, but I've gotten some of my own feelings out of my system. I feel like you actually heard me and took care of me a little bit, and I guess we are both 40-ish, and you say we're both single, and I want a family, but I didn't think I wanted a family with you because there were just all these problems, and maybe we could work on them, and maybe it actually would work out the way I had hoped it would be all that time ago. If you've had genuine growth and maturity and you really are at a new place in your life and want to try again in a previous relationship, I think that would be a good way to go about it. I think that's a way more effective way of going about this whole thing than Natalie just walking up saying, hey, how's it going? I made mistakes, take me back, I want kids. I mean, why would Mike go for that? You'd essentially be either banking on Mike having wanted that this whole time and is like, oh yeah, well finally, we're on the same page. Or he's on the fence and not sure if this is a good idea. In which case, it'd be good to convince him it was a good idea by showing him that things would be better or why this would be a good idea, instead of just saying, well, but I love you, but we have history. Like,
I care about you and I. You're my
There
my
is
husband.
no me and you. You made that choice, Natalie.
yeah, you can do all that, but kind of pleading. But if Mike even goes along with it at that point, then that's kind of coercion. If it was bad before and I kind of think it's going to be bad again and I don't want to do it, but now I'm going to say yes because I'm just kind of being overwhelmed or just emotionally coerced or convinced that this will be different. It's like, but I don't, in my head, I don't think it'll be different. I don't think I should say yes, but we have this history and we have these emotions and I guess, okay, we can try it. That's not going to end up well. So all in all, this conversation didn't seem to go that well for Natalie. I think she did a good enough job. She tried her best. I don't think she did a bad job going about this conversation, but I think if she was interested in maximizing her odds of this conversation going well and she getting what she wanted out of it, then I don't think she had the right mentality even going into it to begin with. And while Mike was being very direct and a little brutal in some of his delivery through this whole process, I do understand where the feelings are coming from. I can't really blame him for that. I do understand why he could be feeling betrayed or resentful towards Natalie and take it out on her a little bit right now. But at least the two of them have some closure, and I'm hoping that whatever is real or fake, I hope the two people behind the screen can find the people in their life and end up having good enough and healthy and happy lives. But until then, we have the tell-all next episode, and oh my god, that looks like a clown show.
And if you don't want a family with me, it doesn't mean you can take my time.
We're not even a couple right now, so what are we talking about?
So I'm super excited for that, and that's all I have for today's video. Let me know what you thought about this couple in the comments down below. And until next time, if you enjoyed this video and you enjoy my content, make sure to hit subscribe, hit the like button, ring the bell for notifications, hit the join button. I love all you channel members, and every comment helps the algorithm. Thank you, and I'll see you in the next one.